Yeah, I want to get on with a little bit of different subject, and also which might be a very smart investment alternative to gold and silver. I know, like, I'm going to actually get on with a little more about gold and silver again later today, but um, what an alternative investment could be that it's very probably still in a very hard bull run is gold, besides gold, guns and ammunition. Actually, even the firearms and manufacturers such as Ruger have been doing very well over the last few years. If you bought those back, actually, if you bought those back, say in January, Ruger firearms in 2011, you'd be doing very well right now, much better than if you bought silver. But it's not a it's something that I think a lot of people are ignoring, especially in the gold and silver bug community. Now, there really can't be a shortage of firearms depending upon manufacturer capacity and that type of stuff. But I'm saying is, I think as more and more restrictions come about, these things are probably going to go up in value. And you don't even have to say buy like a complete firearm. You could buy like a barrel that has nothing to do with the complete firearm. It's got, it's just a barrel. Or you could buy, instead of even loaded ammunition, you could buy the projectiles, which are, just the bullet part that comes out. And actually, I think those type of things will probably be going up in value because as the commodity swings the other way, and it will, projectiles are partly, they're all made out of commodity metals like lead and copper, but I think there's going to be more and more ways to try to drive the price up, and the manufacturer is going to have to pass the cost on. In other words, they're probably going to come out, I hope they don't. I mean, I know they're being fought back every way, but it looks like as a long-term investment, also anything related to guns and ammunition may be very smart. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about real slavery that's going on in the United States. Real slavery. I actually talked about it before with prison industries. Prison industry is largely part of the military-industrial complex. Now, there's a major incentive to put people in jail over small crimes like maybe marijuana crimes or smaller drug crimes, to use them as slave labor. Now, actually, if you look back to the statistics to 1850, aggregate total, if you took the number of blacks that were in slavery in 1850, about 10 years before the Civil War, and you compare the number of blacks that are in incarceration today, or on parole and everything, actually today's aggregate number exceeds 1850 number. So in some ways, when things change, they stay the same. It's the same kind of crap that's going on way back then as there is today. Absolutely not much of a change. And this is one of the biggest things that needs to be fought that the elite are doing. It's like we know about the Laogai prisons in China, where for a minor infraction you can go to jail without actually having a trial for 3 years. It could be like a bureaucratic error or something. You go to jail for 3 years and you have to work or they torture you. They're doing that today, not the same way, because the legal system doesn't allow them. You have to go through more processes. But if you have a drug offense, that's one of the things they nail people for. So that's one reason they want to keep marijuana very illegal and stuff and that type of stuff, because people go to jail for these type of things. If they save their family with marijuana oil against cancer, they can go to jail and go to prison, like and produce goods for the cheap. And this is what will keep the price down. It'll keep inflation down because nobody's getting paid. There's slaves doing the labor. Actually, I want to point out some of the people, some of the corporations besides the military-industrial complex, like Boeing or something like that. Boeing airplane. And, like the Kevlar helmets and all that type of stuff, the bulletproof vests and a lot of different things that are the uniforms and stuff. They're produced by prison industries. But it's also Microsoft is using that labor, Victoria's Secret, and also Starbucks coffee. They're also using that labor too. They're all linked into it. So, I would not support those products at all. Period. None. I don't anyway, but Microsoft, they've been on my bad list, shit list, whatever you want to call it, since a long time ago, actually. And but you know, all these, there's a lot of companies that have big financial incentives to use prison labor, and in the United States, the United States incorporates 25% of the total prison population on the globe, yet the United States has 5% of the population. So what's the deal? What's the deal? All kinds of bad people live in the United States. Is that what the problem is? No, it ain't. No, it ain't. And, you know, this is one reason I want to talk about people should invest in guns and ammunition, because slaves don't have guns. Slaves don't have guns. That was one of the things, you know, that was one of the things they didn't want slaves to have back in the United States when it, you know, when they were slaves, right? They didn't want them to have guns. Obama is all for gun control. Uncle Tom Obama. Uncle Tom Obama. He's all for gun control. He's the biggest, I don't know what he is. He's like, I don't even know if he's, you know, I couldn't even really say he's black. He's like white and black, right? He's both. Basically, he's a suck ass to the elite, and he's totally owned by the elite. That's all he is. And they got him out there because he gets away with more shit as, you know, semi-black than he would if he was like some crusty old white guy out there being president, like Dick Cheney or some shit, right? That's the only reason they got him there. It's a sales pitch. It's a sales pitch. That's all it is. But what you might have for a very good investment going on into the future is guns and ammunition. And it doesn't really have to be like you get a gun and you have to, like, you know, do the numbers and, you know, the whole registration. You don't have to get the whole gun. You can probably just get the barrels or whatever the hell it is. And that may itself may be a good investment. There's nothing illegal, you know, I mean, you don't even have to go through any kind of stuff to get a barrel for a weapon. I mean, it's just a part, right? And they just might go up in value. They might go up in value. It's like a conjecture, a bet, but seeing how the trend is going, I think the people that control America, well, it's not like there's one group. Now, I just got to point this out about the elite. It's just pure greed, and they don't give a shit what the consequences are to other people. That's really what it is. There's always new people coming into that group. The more they have, the more they want, and they don't care about nobody else. And they always got to make themselves look like philanthropists and they're nice people, because that's image control. You know, they're not going to say, you know, put the Grinch sign on and make in big sign it says I'm evil. They're going to make themselves look like the nicest people in the world. That's why they're very heavy into philanthropy. I pointed that out before too. But you know, there's always going to be this type of group. But what the common people got to do, I don't know if you want to call it common, just regular people want to do, average people want to do, is make sure those type of people don't get power. And, you know, one of the things you're gonna, actually is going to be your last defense, your last ditch defense, is guns and ammunition and weapons and things. Because, you know, how much is, I mean, actually the government is not going broke by incarcerating people, because they're making money off them, because they're enslaving them and they're working them to death. So it's business. So in the United States, we got slavery going on, period. And, you know, one of the things you could do in a more passive way is look up any company that is a part of prison industries and not buy one damn thing from them, period. Not at all. Actually, I think it's more important for Americans to concentrate on not buying any product from any kind of industry that incarcerates Americans, period. And we definitely need to get a lot of these drug laws out the window. You know, the reason I could state that there's too many anti-drug laws, and I don't take any drugs, I don't drink, I don't even drink a glass of wine a day, period. I mean, don't smoke. So it's coming from a person that doesn't have any personal interest in using any kind of drugs. I don't do any of that stuff. But we need to get these laws off the books, a lot of them off the books, because basically it's just a racket to feed the slave system that's going on in the United States. That's where a lot of the incarceration's coming from, people breaking these drug laws. And the proof that these drug laws are too harsh is that they have industrial hemp, which contains absolutely no drugs in it at all, as a drug, a controlled substance. They have industrial hemp. There's no THC in that stuff. It's so freaking, it's like there is, I guess, in a very, very trace way. But you would get vehemently ill before you even got any of that stuff in you. It's like none. It's actually been taken out of it by crossbreeding. It's much, much lower. It's like nil. It's like nothing. But the product can actually produce 10 times the amount of gasoline as corn, and it grows faster, and it doesn't require herbicides and pesticides, so you don't have this pollution into the water. So what's the deal? You know, it's a game, man. I know, it's like a game. It's simplicity. It's like people just have a racket. They've got a revenue stream coming in. They see any kind of competition, squash it. That's why hemp is squashed, because it's competition to oil companies, it's competition to pharmaceutical companies, plastics, nylon, DuPont, and it's been that way since the 30s when they made it illegal. That's because back in the 30s, I'll just say this again, back in the 30s, they found a new way to process the hemp plant and get the fibers from it cheaper. It was like a hemp Eli Cotton Whitney gin. It would have made hemp into the biggest agricultural product immediately. That was actually all in the popular science magazines at that time. That is why DuPont, Hearst with his paper mills and stuff like that, and Standard Oil, Rockefeller, and everybody else moved against it at that time, back in the 30s, and made it illegal. So, you know, and also marijuana, oil, and mixtures from marijuana. It was actually, at that time, it was the American Medical Association that was vehemently against laws being passed against marijuana, because they used it in so many different things to help people heal and cure them and everything. Because marijuana was actually in a lot of different concoctions, medicines from the 1800s on. Now today people look at that like, oh, that's, but you know, we've seen what happens with marijuana oil. It actually does cure cancer, and also marijuana oil is extremely effective against Parkinson's. Parkinson's actually is I'm going off track here, but I want to add this on here because maybe you won't find where I said this before. Parkinson's is actually from a lack of dopamine in the brain. That's why you'll see the symptoms of the shaking, like, you know, people go shaking and stuff, right? You'll see the symptoms come out, but the cause is a lack of dopamine. Somehow the marijuana oil, the THC or whatever it is, raises that, and then all of a sudden the shaking stops. It looks like it's a damn good cure for Parkinson's too, but they won't give it to anybody, and it's pretty much a secret, almost a secret. I'm telling it now, but big thing is, for your longer term investments, probably better than even gold and silver, because I don't think that people on the top fear gold and silver. They fear guns, and they fear free, independent thinking people that stand up for their own rights. So that's going to be, I think, a very good investment long range. And you don't have to actually buy full assembled guns. And you could buy a barrel, or you could buy little projectiles or something. They might actually be worth a few bucks later on. It might be a smart thing besides buying bullion and thinking outside the box. But you do want to have these things anyway, because it looks like we're going to the trend is there's a big profit motivation in using slave labor. Americans didn't give a shit when it was like in China, because they're just buying stuff made in China. How do I know that this doll for my kid, it was made by some slave? But you know, they're doing it everywhere. They're doing it in the United States big time too. So stay the hell away from any company that supports prison industries or buys any products from prison industries in the United States. And stay armed, and also stay armed for a financial reason, because I think anything to do with weapons or guns or ammunition is actually going to go up in value, and probably be a good thing to protect you financially.